How would it be if you can get one more credit card to be able to free up and increase your cash flow by hundreds of dollars a month? Is that even possible? That's what we're going to talk about and divulge today. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you if you want to become work optional, where you have enough passive income to work because you want to, not because you have to. As a reminder, guys, just so you know, if you haven't gone to our website, check out moneyripples.com. We've revamped a lot of things, added some more education on there. So if you want to check that out, do that right now. All right, guys. So I'm excited to bring back once more Mike Michalowicz. Now, if you don't know Mike, it's probably because you haven't listened to my show more than a week or two, because I've referred to Mike's books probably more than almost anybody else. I mean, he is up there from like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Mike Michalowicz has got, the Pumpkin Plan that I've referenced many times is what changed my business and my life. Profit First, which also was a big enhancement to my business as well. And so many other books, even All In, one of my favorite books is, I mean, guys, if you're an entrepreneur, Mike Michalowicz has got to be on your bookshelf. And if you can't figure out how to spell his name, just look up Motorbike Mike, all right? Because that's what he always tags him back for his little high school days of his nickname. But I got him here today because I want to talk about his new book that's actually available for pre-sale right now. That's called The Money Habit, which of course we're a money show, right? So we want to definitely talk about what is this money habit and how in the hell are we able to actually use a credit card to increase our cash flow by hundreds of dollars a month? Let's talk about that right now. So Mike, welcome to our show.
Chris, it's a joy to be with you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I can go right into that tip if you like.
Let's do it. Let's just jump right in, huh?
Okay. So the number one, perhaps most insidious form of debt accumulation for individuals right now is subscriptions. And the reason is everyone and their mother sells them. Admittedly, I sell subscriptions through my organization, a membership subscription, but there is streaming subscriptions. There are your exercise machine. Gosh, my wife and I are looking at getting a new bed, and the bed came with a monthly freaking subscription. It was unbelievable. We didn't buy the bed. And what I realized is I have signed up for live subscriptions over time, but there's a magic number they try to target, and it's under a pain threshold, $9.99 or $19.99, depends on the product you're buying. But if it's a low enough number, it goes invisible. You don't think about it. And so I put one on my credit card, I put another one that comes out of a bank account. Well, what you do, here's the trick. You got to get this under control, and it can save you literally hundreds a month. In certain cases, we've even seen people save over $1,000 a month. What you do is you get a additional credit card. But when you get it, and I don't have mine here as in my home, write the word with one of these like Sharpie markers, write the word subscriptions on the credit card. Then every single subscription you have, move to that one credit card. Why is this important? Every month when that statement arrives, it is a painful moment. I literally thought I was spending maybe 200 or 300 on subscriptions. I was thinking, TV, internet. Okay, it's probably about 300. $475. I was like, what am I doing? And a portion of subscriptions, like a gym membership, I wasn't even using. I forgot I even had it anymore. So you want to consolidate it to one place, and it brings a painful awareness. And with painful awareness, you now have clarity and you have control. You can make decisions. I scratched it out. I got down to the number where I thought it should have been. And it's saving, at least in my case, hundreds a month.
Wow. I like that because I mean, it's not the first time we've talked about subscriptions, right? Like I even talk about people like going and tracking their money, but I know even in my own case, whether it's my personal, but especially my business, right? When I start tracking my numbers weekly, the thing is like, I see these subscriptions come through and half the time, especially in my business, I'm like, I don't even remember what that is. I know my team does. I should ask them about that later. And then I just kind of sweep it under the rug for later. And you're right. Like a lot of times, even if I'm tracking it, even if I'm categorizing it, still, I should probably say, what is this really? Is this productive for me or not?
Yeah. And you want that forced moment of awareness. So I also own a business. I can go in my QuickBooks and look at the subscriptions, but I don't. Or when I do, it's maybe at the end of the year or some financial question came up and we look through and say, oh gosh, we need to fix this. But when you get all on one credit card every single month, and we still do paper statements, we require those. When it arrives, it's a painful moment. And to your point in business, my gosh, We had a Chat GPT, which is an amazing system subscription that we got for say $40 or $20, which feels like nothing, but slowly spread out through the team. We were spending, I think, $400 a month on Chat GPT. And then I asked the team, like, well, you must be using this a lot. They said, no, we started using Gemini. We cut over to that. It's way
Yeah.
better. Well, thank God I asked because I was seeing this subscription. We canceled ChatGPT, and that saved our organization hundreds and hundreds every month. And that's just one subscription. So it's not that subscriptions are bad per se, it's the lack of awareness that you
Yeah.
have them, which is super bad. And we need to bring back that awareness.
No, I love that. That's a great tip. And probably the most actionable, like quickest action tip we've had on this podcast in a long time, including my own episodes. So thanks for showing me up
Okay,
there.
cool. We landed it.
But well, let's kind of go back to you again, in case for anybody that's not familiar with your story, because you've had kind of like me, you've had the ups and the downs, right? You've blown up, you apparently became successful and you made it, and then all of a sudden things came crashing down, and then you were able to come back stronger again, and it's something I resonate with a lot. Tell us more about your story there, and even how that inspired this profit first mentality, which is actually kind of what this ties into this book.
Yeah. It actually is profit first translated to personal finance.
Yeah.
So the quick story is been an entrepreneur my entire adult life. Thought I was good at it, but I really wasn't. I was all focused on growth. And so you have this sense of success, millions and millions in revenue. It wasn't sustainable, it wasn't profitable. And I sold two companies, and I was like, oh, clearly I've got this figured out. My third venture was a total flop. I was now investing in businesses as an angel investor. I lost everything. And it was from ego and arrogance and ignorance all blended together. I saw my bank account just wiping out, but I was like, oh, I'm just one big client away, one turning moment.
Hmm.
And then that never happened. And I came home to my family on this one particular day, February 14th, 2008. I'll never forget. It was Valentine's Day. And I had a tax bill due, which I couldn't pay. And I asked my accountant what to do. He says, like, you got to declare bankruptcy or liquidate your remaining assets and start a new life. And you can't even afford to pay me, the accountant, anymore either. Like, you got to start new. I chose option two, the latter. We liquidated our remaining assets. We lost our home and started over. But during that process, it was extremely painful. I went through depression. My daughter, who was 9 at the time, offered up her savings, which was a piggy bank, to save our family. I mean, talk about struggles and depression. And it became the seed in reflection. When I look back on that, it became the inspiration for figuring out really what makes someone successful. What is a healthy way to operate a business? And so I redefined success for myself, but most importantly, I also said I'm gonna study every single element of the entrepreneurial journey, from how we run the business, how we lead a business, how we manage money in the business, how we manage money at home. That's what the money habit's about for the entrepreneur. How do we handle it at home? And I'm gonna learn what I can. I'm gonna improve it, these systems for myself, and then when they work and they really have an impact, I'm gonna document it and share it. So that's how I became an author, and that's what I do. Admittedly, every book I've written is because I suck at those things. I'm not a good leader. I'm meh. I want to be good.
Hmm.
I'm not good. I suck with money. I was never profitable. Well, now we've had 63 consecutive quarters of profit. I, I find a way that works with who I naturally am, and I think how most people are wired. It's by leveraging, like the title indicates in this case, like it's leveraging your habits. Work. Don't change who you are. Channel who you are. It's always my thoughts when I write my books.
Yeah. I know you have such a powerful story there. I'll tell you, like, because I now listen to all your books on audiobook, which I love
Thanks.
because in your voice, it's
Yeah.
actually inspired me to make sure I do my own voice on my
Oh,
own
please do.
audiobook.
Please do, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want AI stuff or
No,
whatever, Morgan Freeman. I don't need Morgan Freeman reading my book,
no.
but I'll tell you, like, I remember hearing that story about your daughter with the piggy bank and trying to offer to help. Like,
Yeah.
I was running at the time. I remember exactly where I was running. I started crying, which is not
Oh.
easy to do while you run, right? Because you're
No.
like sobbing and try to breathe at the same time. It was
Yeah.
such a heartfelt story because I mean, I went through the same thing in that last recession too. Like, I was going broke in 2007, going to 2008.
Yeah.
My kids were so young, they didn't really know what was going on at the time, but man, like it shaped me and it
Yeah,
actually
but
taught me
I
to
would
do
argue, Chris, they knew how daddy was acting and behaving. They knew you were hurting. They may not be able to put a
right.
finger on it. Yeah, so I'm happy you connect with that story because it's your story too. I bet
Yeah.
you for your listeners, this isn't unique to me. This is all of us have that experience in some capacity. It's not always financial. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's a far worse experience, but there's something that just fundamentally shifts you. And we have a choice in that moment to say, I'm drawing the line in the sand. I will never allow this to happen to myself or anyone I come in contact with again. Or we can say, this is my definition. This is who I am. This is my new identity. And I
Mhm.
chose the prior. I'm like, I am committed to never experiencing financial struggles again,
Yeah,
but not allowing anyone else to experience it either.
that's right. And I'll tell you too. I mean, because I went through those ups and downs. I came out of it. I refused bankruptcy as well. But I found your book. I think it was 2014. I think is when I found Profit First. So I think it was kind of early on. That's when you wrote it. I think if I recall right.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
But I remember reading that book thinking, oh my gosh, I've got it backwards because I was putting all my effort trying to pay off my debt and to dig out
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
$1 million plus debt hole. But then realizing, and this is what I want you to talk about too, and see how this applies to your new book, because what was the big epiphany for me wasn't just, pay whatever expenses I have to. And after I've paid everything, if there's anything left over, then I take it home. You teach a very different philosophy, which is pay yourself first. Like, how do you actually figure out what is it you want to
Yes.
take home? And then you figure out your expenses around that.
Yeah. Your life comes into alignment with it.
If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now.
And admittedly, it's not like I created something unique here. This was written about in the Bible. It is concepts around tithing and saving first. And then modern versions are like Richest Man in Babylon and Think and Grow Rich. And there's all these books that say, pay yourself first. What I realized is people weren't doing it in their business. The other thing I realized when it came to personal finances is we don't really understand the psychology. So in the money habit, I talk about a concept called optimal foraging theory. And what it is how our caveman mind is wired.
Mhm.
The caveman doesn't sit there and say, you know what? Let's see if we can get a steak tonight. There's no refrigerator. No, it's like we're going to go on the hunt and we're going to burn a lot of calories and put ourselves at risk to do this. So we're going to get the biggest woolly mammoth we can get. And when we take that thing down, we're carving it up. So you hunt in sets. You don't just get little bits and pieces or drips of food like we can right now with food, at least when we go to the supermarket. No, you got to hunt. Once you capture it, the next risk that presents itself is that stuff is going to perish. You can't, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You can't eat a whole woolly mammoth in one
Right.
sitting. So you have to go through preservation. So first you hunt, then you preserve, and then you distribute in increments. And the cave people were very effective at preservation, burying food, smoking food. They had different techniques to do this. And a woolly mammoth could feed the tribe for an elongated period of time. Well, our mind became wired for this, collecting large sums, store and preserve, and then consume. But if you
Mm.
don't store it, it's going to perish very quickly.
Yes.
So when it comes to our income, for most of us, if we're on a salary once a month or once every week, a couple of weeks, or once a week, you get a large chunk of money. If you're an entrepreneur, it can be even more sporadic. Every so often, a large chunk comes in and there's nothing. So that's the hunt.
Mhm.
What we have to go through is preservation. And that's the part that most of us aren't trained to do anymore. So our mind says, oh, I got to consume this. So we're actually wired to consume unless a preservation mechanism is there in place first.
Yeah.
So now what happens is when money comes in, we're going to automatically, at least in the entrepreneurial space, reserve some for profit. In the
Yeah.
personal space, we're going to reserve it for different responsibilities we have. We're going to carve up that woolly mammoth of cash, store it, and then we're going to start this drip consumption. And ironically, just to kind of wrap a thought around this, is I found we've done over 1,000 deployments with individuals in testing this book.
Mhm.
We found is not a single person needed to earn more money. They needed more cash clarity. Then more money was of value. But when they earned more money without having cash clarity or cash control, that money evaporated just as quickly. They have to master the preservation part in that optimal foraging theory. You have to have that preservation part in place first, regardless of the sum of money you have. And even if you don't make more money, it feels like you have a lot more money because you have a lot more control.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. You know, and I think that also makes sense from a hunter standpoint because if someone's not careful, they're going to be constantly hunting because they didn't preserve it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you get a chunk of money and then month end's coming around like, oh my gosh, I don't have any left. I can't pay rent.
Uh-huh.
So now it's like I gotta go on the hunt again. And the
Yeah.
most common form of the hunt is beg or borrow. So do I have credit cards? Maybe I can pull cash from that in some capacity, or I can spend, I can pay for my cable bill on credit card, which will free up $100, which I can use toward my rent, which is basically putting your rent on credit card. So we play these games, or we go to the boss and say, "Hey, is there any way you can give me a loan, or I deserve a raise? Can you give it to me now?"
Mhm.
All those things get exhausted very quick or very quickly. We can't skip the preservation. That meat, that hunted food will continue to rot.
Well, that was going to be my next question, which sounds like you kind of answered it, which is where do you find people typically get hung up in this process? Like, where do they usually find the biggest, whether it be mental obstacle or even financial obstacle?
Yeah, so there's another thing called Parkinson's law.
Uh-huh.
And so Parkinson's law, I talk about it with my other book, but basically the core theory is a consumption of a resource expands to meet the availability of that resource. So the more time I have to do something resource, the longer consumption that takes to fulfill that requirement within that time. So if you and I agree, I'm going to get a contract to you by the end of this week, it'll take me to the end of the week. But if we compress the resource of time and say, I'll get to you within the next hour, I likely will. So it's
Mhm.
actually the resource that's dictating it. But when it comes to money, the more money that's available, the more we consume it. The, so what people struggle with is they think I just need to make more money and I'll be financially sound.
Mhm.
But the reality for most of us, Chris, is our whole lives we've been saying, if I just made a little bit more money, and you
Mhm.
probably have, you've gotten raises or you've earned some more money. Well, how's that served you? For most of us, the quality of life is not improved because that money gets depleted right away. So the mindset struggle is believing that more money is the solution when really it's more control.
Yeah.
There's a counterpoint though, and I write about it in The Money Habit with lottery winners. A lot of us have heard the story when someone wins a lottery, most of those people end up in deeper struggles. They blow the money and so forth, and often are depressed. And
Mhm.
I'm hearing people say it often. So I did the research behind that, and the case actually is a large portion of lottery winners are quantifiably happier in their lives after winning a lottery, but the only variable that determined that was their ability to manage money. So lottery winners who
Mhm.
made money but didn't have a money management skill or system actually became more depressed, less happy, struggled more. But people who got money in and had a system to manage it in advance were measurably happier. So the lesson here is simply, regardless of where you stand financially today, step one is not make more money. Step two is make more control of your money. Earn that, learn that. Step two then is to earn more money.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with my own definition of like what money is. Money doesn't isn't good or bad. It doesn't make you evil, right? It's just a magnifier of your soul. It just makes you
Yeah,
more of who you already were.
100%.
Sorry, say it
Yeah,
again.
I said 100%. I agree
Uh-huh.
with you. If if someone said like, say someone has an addiction, some severe addiction to drugs or something,
Mhm.
give that person $1 million, and I can guarantee you where it's going to go. But say someone has a different form of commitment, I'll say, instead of addiction. And it's all about spending time with their family.
Yeah.
They love family trips and family time together. Give them $1 million. Where's that money going to go? More of that. So money just amplifies the existing behavioral pattern you have. So we need to get that resolved first to a healthy state. And then the introduction of money amplifies that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect sense. Well, Mike, two last questions here. One, I know they can pre-order the book because the book officially launches January of 2026.
Right.
Where can they find it to pre-order?
Amazon, of course. But if you want to go to your local bookstore, I'm really getting on this bandwagon now. And I'm sorry I'm late to this because I love small business. If you're willing, go to your local bookstore in your town. And if it's not going to the shelf yet, it's pre-order, but say there's this new book out called The Money Habit by this guy, Mike Michalowicz. I like to get it. Um, if you want to stay online, there's a site called bookshop.org, and it is like the Etsy for small business retail stores. And
Hmm.
when you order the Money Habit through bookshop.org, they will then supply it through your local bookstore and ship it from there. So the local bookstore still gets the financial win. So Amazon's great if that's your thing, but bookshop.org is another site I invite you to check out. Barnes and Nobles too, and all those things. Bookshop.org is the place to go.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's a really cool tip.
Yeah,
So I'll tell you, I mean, before I get this last question, I'll just tell you, Mike, I mean, many people on this show have heard my story, of course, of, making it big, losing it all in the global financial crisis, making it again, by 2016, the end of 2016, I was able to be financially independent, had enough passive income coming in to become work optional, like we talk about.
I love
I'll
it.
tell you though, and telling everybody else on the show, like a big part of that was because I applied your system, your financial system to my business and then applied it to my life. And so because
Love it.
that was the only way I could have the extra money, the extra profit that I was able to take and invest in things like real estate to then have that extra passive income. So I want to just give you a huge thank you for that.
Brother, that means the world to me. So thank you for doing it. I also want to acknowledge, there's recipes out there that are fantastic, but it's the cook who gets the accolades. So kudos to you for doing it. I can only imagine how many people you're inspiring just by them observing what you've done and hopefully follow suit with what you did.
Well, that leads to my last question, actually. That's perfect segue. So, Mike, it is the Money Ripples podcast. We talk about creating a ripple effect through people's lives. What do you feel is your ripple effect for this planet or even just for a specific segment of people?
Yeah, I'm on a path to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And the great boss, like if I come from a kind of a video game mindset where you got to defeat the boss to go to the next
Mhm.
level, the great boss is this hustle and grind mentality. There's a lot of pundits out there saying we society need to work harder, longer, exhaust ourselves, sacrifice everything to make this business a success. And that is bull wash. It's totally the worst advice ever. The number one job of an entrepreneur is to be a creator of jobs. We're the weirdos who thought we could actually pull this off. You and me, Chris, and some other folks listening in say, yeah, I could start a business. No, it's really hard, but we thought we could. And therefore, our job is to create jobs for other people who never wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I hope my ripple effect is to help elevate entrepreneurs so they live healthy, wealthy lives because that cascades on to the people they employ, which cascades on to their families and so forth.
That's the ripple effect we talk about, isn't it? I
Yes, it
love
is.
that. Well, Mike, I love that we're so aligned and appreciate the ripple effect you are creating because I know it's blessed my life and it's blessed many others too. So thank you for being able to do that for us.
This has been a joy. Chris, thanks for having me.
You bet. Everybody else, be sure to get the Money Habit. Like I said, you can pre-order it, whether it's through Amazon or you can even go online in different places like Barnes and Noble, or even through your local bookstore. But be sure you go and make that happen because it's again, we talk about it's good to learn it, but when you take it and you learn it, like he says, you got to cook with it, right? So make sure you actually take action with the things that he teaches. That's when your life really begins to change. So go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.